In the heart of America during the late 1980s, a city that once pulsed with life began to hold its breath. A shadow fell, a phantom that moved through the familiar streets, leaving behind a trail of fear and bewilderment. This isn't just a story about a serial killer. It's about a community plunged into a decade-long nightmare. A police force grappling with an enigma, and a series of crimes so bizarre they defied all logic. It started subtly, a disappearance here, a strange report there. At first, no one connected the dots. The victims seemed random, with no apparent link in age, background, or lifestyle. But as the pattern emerged, a chilling realization dawned upon the investigators. This wasn't chaos. It was a carefully orchestrated performance, and the entire city was its unwilling audience. The killer, who the media would later dub the puppeteer, had a signature that was both unique and deeply unsettling. He didn't just commit murder. He staged elaborate scenes. Each victim was found in a public place, posed like a mannequin in a shop window, often surrounded by a collection of strange, seemingly meaningless objects. A broken pocket watch, a single chess piece, a child's worn-out toy. To the police, these were frustrating, dead ends. To the killer, there were clues, pieces of a puzzle he dared them to solve. Imagine the detectives arriving at a crime scene, a park bench at dawn. A victim sits upright, dressed in clothes that aren't their own, staring blankly at the rising sun. Interrant, a vintage postcard from a city they've never visited. The scene is clean, almost sterile. No fingerprints, no fibers, no witnesses. Just an eerie silent tableau that screamed for attention, yet offered no answers. The pressure on the police department was immense, led by the determined but weary detective Miles Corrigan, a man who had seen it all, or so he thought. The task force worked around the clock. They built profiles, interviewed hundreds, and chased down every lead, no matter how outlandish. They consulted with psychologists who theorized that the killer was a narcissist, a performer who craved recognition for his twisted intellect. He wasn't just taking lives. He was telling a story, and each victim was a new chapter. But what was the story? The objects left at the scenes were the key. Was the broken watch a reference to a specific time? Did the chess piece signify a strategic game he was playing with law enforcement? They cross-referenced old cases, delved into obscure historical events, and even explored local folklore, searching for any connection. Every theory led to another frustrating wall. The puppeteer was always one step ahead, a ghost in the machine. A palpable sense of dread settled over the community. Parents kept their children close. Streets that were once bustling at night became eerily quiet. The nightly news was a ritual of anxiety, with updates on the case that only deepened the mystery. People looked at their neighbors with suspicion. The trust that holds a community together began to fray. Could the friendly man next door, the quiet colleague at work, be the monster everyone feared? The killer wasn't just terrorizing individuals. He was poisoning the soul of the entire city. Letters began to arrive at the desks of local reporters and at Detective Corrigan's precinct. They were written in a precise, almost calligraphic script, filled with riddles and philosophical musings. He taunted the police for their failures and offered cryptic hints about his next move. The letters were a double-edged sword. They provided a direct line to the killer's mind, a glimpse into his twisted logic. But they also amplified his legend and intensified the public's panic. He was no longer just a killer. He was a media sensation, a dark celebrity. Detective Corrigan became obsessed. The case consumed him. He spent sleepless nights poring over crime scene photos and the killer's letters, the cryptic words burning into his memory. He saw the puppeteer's hand in every shadow. His personal life crumbled, but he couldn't let go. He felt a strange, personal connection to the killer, as if they were locked in a battle of wits that only one of them could survive. Corrigan knew that this wasn't just about catching a criminal. It was about restoring a sense of order to a world that had descended into madness. The breakthrough, when it finally came, was from an unexpected source. It wasn't a fingerprint or a DNA match. It was a small, overlooked detail from the very first crime scene. A detail that had been dismissed as irrelevant. A junior archivist, Tascade DeWitt, recataloguing old evidence files, noticed a faint watermark on one of the postcards. Left with a victim, it was a symbol from a defunct paper company that had a very specific, limited distribution list decades ago. Following this lead, the team uncovered a hidden history. A story of a family tragedy that had been buried for years. A story of a brilliant but troubled boy who had suffered a profound loss. A loss that the community had ignored. The objects, the poses, the locations, they weren't random at all. They were reenactments. They were echoes of a past trauma, meticulously recreated. The killer wasn't just staging scenes. He was forcing the city to witness the pain he had endured, the pain they had overlooked. With this new understanding, the puzzle pieces began to fit. The police now knew who they were looking for. Not a monster, but a man. A man broken by his past, driven by a need for a very specific, very public kind of justice. The final confrontation was not a high-speed chase or a dramatic shootout. It was a quiet, tense standoff in the very place where the killer's trauma began. It was a battle of words, a final psychological chess match between Detective Corrigan and the puppeteer. The city could breathe again, but the scars remained. The case of the puppeteer changed the way police investigated complex crimes and highlighted the deep impact that hidden trauma can have, not just on an individual, but on an entire community. It's a haunting reminder that the most terrifying monsters are often not the ones from stories, but the ones we create through our own indifference. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as captivating as we did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the most perplexing cases in history. We'll see you next time.